ओम नमः प्रणवार्ताय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अरुणगिरिमुपेतं सच्चिदानन्दमूर्तिं रमणयति पृथिव्यां विश्रुतं ज्ञानसूर्यं गहनहृदयविद्यां लीलया बोधयन्तं सततमहममेयं सद्गुरुं संस्मरामि। My humble pranams. In the last session, we had this, the ninth verse. I will just mention the ninth verse and a little description, and I will go to the next one. Sachidanandan Sahalattum Ullan Ichanam Vishtu Nilaitannil Sochamam Punnil Kadahadipolum Pal Totramelam Anniyam Andru Endru Ari Sachidatman Anusyute Nitye Vishnu Prakalpitaha Vyaktayo Vividha Sarvaha Hatake Katakadivat. Here in this verse, Shankara is talking about the Swarupa Lakshanam of Atman. Swarupa Lakshanam is that which is intrinsic, which is natural. This is known as Swarupa Lakshanam. And the Vedanta says there is another Lakshanam, it is known as Tatastha Lakshanam. Tatastha Lakshanam is something that is incidental, indicative, accidental. That is Tatastha Lakshanam. This Tatastha Lakshanam, they normally give an example. That example is somebody is coming and then asking you for a route to somebody's house. And you want to tell them, guide them. What you say is, you look at that house on which there is a crow. There is a crow sitting on the house. Just next to that is the house that you want to go. This crow is incidental. It may fly away. So it is indicative, but not the intrinsic property of that house. The house is, anyway, the purpose is served because you are able to show the route to them. Here, the creation, destruction, maintenance, and all these things are incidental. Whether they happen or not, Brahman is going to be there all the time. They are just incidental. So that's why this is known as Tatastha Lakshanam. We recited Arunachala Pancharatnam. The first verse is Swarupa Lakshanam, and the second verse is Tatastha Lakshanam. We can see that. Where Bhagavan is mentioning about the creation, this Uttidamai Nindre Udungidumal, he says. So that is Tatastha Lakshanam. That is the creation, sustenance, and also the destruction of the universe. And he says here, Sachidanandan, this Brahman, Sachidananda Brahman, Anusyute. Anusyute is a very interesting word. Anusyute means actually sewn together or integrated into that. All the creation is integrated into him. It is not apart from him, it is integrated into him. Anusyute. Syuta. Syuta means to be sewn. Actually, the word is very coincidentally, they seem to be very, very close to each other. Maybe this word came out of that word. Anyway, Anusyute Nitye Vishnu Prakalpitaha Vyaktayo Vividha Sarvaha. All these individuals that you see, all these objects that you see, they're all a great variety of them. But all of them are just imagined in him. That's what it says. Vyaktayo Vividha Sarvaha Vyaktayoho Vishnu Prakalpitaha Sachidananda Manusyute Vishnu. Here Vishnu is actually the actual meaning is that which is, pervading every place. That is the actual meaning of Vishnu. He's not referring to the actual, Godhead, but the Brahman only is indicated by Vishnu. In a few words are used in the series of verses where the Nirguna Brahman is indicated and not the Saguna Brahman. Previous verse we had Parameshwara, here we have Vishnu. The next verse also there's going to be some specific word that he uses, but all of them are to the Nirguna Brahman, not to the Saguna Brahman. That's what we have to take. So here, he says, what he says is, this one has become many. Just like one gold alone has become all these ornaments. All these ornaments, various shapes and sizes, they are not the real thing. What is real in them is only gold. Without gold, there cannot be any ornament. So ornaments are just incidental. They are just various shapes and sizes. They are not real. What is real in them is only gold. Similarly, what he is trying to say here is, even though there are so many different kinds of creations here, you see so many people, so many objects in this universe, one thing that is inherent in all of them is this Brahman alone, Sachidananda Brahman. That alone is there, and there are so many other appearances. So that's what he wants to emphasize on this. I just touched upon this Tirumandiram verse. I will just read it once again. பொன்னை மறைத்தது பொன்னணி பூடனம் பொன்னில் மறைந்தது பொன்னணி பூடனம் தன்னை மறைத்தது தன் கரணங்களாம் தன்னில் மறைந்தது தன் கரணங்களே. கரணம் இஸ் திஸ் அந்தக்கரணம். தன்னை மறைத்தது தன் கரணங்களாம். This antakaranas, this manas, buddhi, all these antakaranas, they have hidden the Brahman. That Atman inside is hidden by them, because moment they start activating, our vision goes outside and all our attention is on the outside world. There is no opportunity for us to turn within and look within. And unless you do this, it's not possible to catch them. So the first step is to turn within, and these senses are not going to allow you to do that job. They will always, something or the other will be happening. So they pick up something from any one of the senses, and the mind goes after that. That's why he says, Tannai maraitadu tan karanangalam. And finally, when you catch hold of the truth, and finally you merge in Brahman, Tannil maraindadu tan karanangale. They all go and then merge in him, they dissolve in him, in that Brahman. It's a beautiful verse. In fact, there is another verse very similar to this. Marattai maraitadu ma mada yanai. Marattil maraindadu ma mada yanai. Parattai maraitadu parmudal bhutam. Parattil maraindadu parmudal bhutam. Very few words, but he spins these words in such a beautiful manner. He gives the same thing. There is an elephant that is made out of wood. And the elephant is so beautifully designed, you really think that there is an elephant there. So when your attention is on the features of the elephant, you do not really remember the wood that is behind that. You do not really look at the wood. Attention is not on the wood. But when a carpenter goes there, he will be struck by this. Oh, such a beautiful design. What wood is this that he has been able to do so intricate a design in this? So his attention will be on the wood that is beneath. So Marattil, Marattai Maraitadu Ma Madayani. In a similar manner, he says, Parattai Maraitadu, this Paravastu, it is hidden by the Parmudal Bhutangal, all these Panchamaha Bhutas, all these great elements, because of which all the world and the objects have come about. When you look at them, you really do not see what is inside, what is the real essence behind. But when you really catch hold of the Paravastu at that time, all these worlds they just dissolve inside you. In a very similar manner, in Guruvachaka Kovai, there is another great verse. I will read it and then go to the next verse. Guruvachaka Kovai, Muruganar says, Ponnidattu tondri puliyum pala anipol. Ponnidattu tondri puliyum pala anipol. All these ornaments, they have been made out of the gold and they are shining. Tannidattu tondrum characharangal. All these moving and non-moving aspects of this universe, they have come out of the self. Tannidattu tondrum characharangal. Tannai odindu anniyamo. Can they be apart from this basic aham? They cannot be. Tannai odithu anniyamo. Tannai odindu anniyamo. Allah. He says, no, it's not possible for you to conceive of something that is not dependent upon this aham, this Atma Vastu. Punniyale Amarupol, what actually is prevailing there, what is obtaining there is only the Sachidananda Vastu. Just like the gold alone is there, there are no two things. Even though there is a necklace, it is gold. Ultimately, it is only gold. So, this is what Muruganar says about this great verse. It's a beautiful verse. In a very similar way, the next verse, it develops the theme. Various methods of telling you that there is only one. Ultimately, there is only that Advaita Vastu. There are no two things there. But you happen to see all these things because of the error called as ignorance. Error because of the superimposition. And he uses different words to describe different examples, metaphors to describe this thing. So in the next verse, the 10th verse, Yathakashe Krishikesho Nanopa Vibhuhu Gato Vibhuhu Tadbhedat Bhinnavat Bhati Tannashe Kevalo Bhave, he says. Yathakashe Krishikesho Nanopati Gato Vibhuhu Tadbhedat Bhinnavat Bhati Tannashe Kevalo. விண்ணிலே போல் விளங்கு ஈசன் ஈசனில் தோன்றும் எண்ணில் உபாதி.
Please continue, Mama. I'll just mute.
எண்ணில் when we construct a house, we go and then take a plot and then you put a lot of white paint and other things to indicate this is where the bedroom is going to come, this is where the kitchen is going to come. But it's all only space. Later on, walls are erected. Then they say that this is the bedroom space and this is the hall and so many things. We give different names to the same space which is divided. In fact, Sadhu Om gives a beautiful example. He says, in an open space, you erect two walls, one near you, one a little farther away. Two walls are erected, and the space to this side of the wall, you say, this is me. And the space in between these two walls, you say you, because they are closer to you. You say you. And anything beyond that farther wall, you say he, she, it, the whole world. They're all the same. So if you can conceive of the same Chaitanyam, but for practical reasons, for moving in this world, we have divided the Chaitanyam into me, you, and all other objects. But ultimately, they are only one. That's what it says here in this thing. And he uses the word upadhi. Upadhi is a limitation, a limited adjunct. That's what it says. Upa adi. Upa is going near. We know that upa is used in all the Upanishad, Upanyasam, Upavasam. All these things, they indicate the meaning. Upa means going near. Samipe. So, Upa adhiyate swiyam dharman iti upadhi. Swiyam dharman. These things go near that ultimate vastu. They transfer their characteristics onto him and hide him. So the ultimate Brahman is hidden by the upadhis that come near him. Just as the structures that you artificially created, like the two walls that you created, they divided the undivisible space. You are divided into three. Three spaces have come. In a similar manner, these upadhis, they are the ones that are going to make that one thing look like many. They are going to hide the essential nature of the Brahman, and they are going to project so many different images. This is what happens here. He says, Yatha akashe, Hrishikeshaha. Hrishikeshaha. Rishika means a sense. Eye, ear, all these things are known as, all these senses are known as Rishika. Isha is one who controls them. So this is a meaning, this is a word meant to indicate Vishnu. Vishnu is called as Rishikesha. You know that great Kshetram, Rishikesha. So Hrishikeshaha, the one who is controlling the senses, here it means the Brahman, he looks as though he gets divided. How? Nanopati gato vibhuhu. He undergoes an artificial, limitation. No real limitation, but an artificial limitation. And in that process of artificial limitations, the limitations are going to completely hide the one that is behind him. So we are looking at only the limitation. The limitations of perform this act, they transferred their characteristics of limitation to that Purna Vastu, and we do not catch that what is there inside is the Purna Vastu. We are only looking at the limitation. Like, for example, this Buddhi and the Manas, they have transferred their characteristics of mortality. So you say that I am afraid of death. I don't want to die. The idea of mortality was passed on to that which is never born, never going to die. So this has passed it on to them. And it has taken, the characteristic of the Purna Vastu, which is the knowingness, the ability to know things, that prajna, that has been extracted from that, and the buddhi thinks that I am able to think. I am able to solve problems. I can do this job. All these things, they come because of transferring this characteristic to that and that characteristic to this particular upadhi. So buddhi, manas and body, all these things are the upadhis. They make you think that you are separate, others are separate. But when these upadhis go, then everything is only one. And we see these upadhis disappearing during deep sleep. Mind and body and all these things, they disappear. And what is your experience at that time? They just simple kevala. The state of just being one. There is no other division, no differences are seen, because mind, which is the difference creator, it is not there. It's not existing in the deep sleep. So you don't see any differences at all. An American going to sleep has the same experience as a person in India going to sleep. There are no differences. In fact, you don't even know your location. Space is gone, time is gone, everything is gone in the deep sleep. The upadhis are all gone, and the upadhis go. What remains is that one thing alone. Differences cannot be real. This is what Bhagavan keeps on saying. Differences cannot be real because they're all created. In that one vastu, eka vastu, differences are created and then seen, but they are not real. So the one vastu looks like many. விண்ணிலே போல விளங்கு ஈசனில் தோன்றும் எண்ணில் உபாதி, countless upadhis. That same vastu gets divided in so many different fashions. எண்ணில் உபாதி இசைந்த விபு அண்ணலும் அவ்வேத உபாதிகளால். The Brahman, Sachidananda Brahman, because of his Veda Upadhi, Bhinnan Polvan, he looks like divided, but there is no division at all. This is what we have got to remember all the time. Avai Podalum, when these Upadhis go, then what remains is that Purna Vastu alone. That alone remains and nothing else. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a sloka which is very similar to what is mentioned here. This comes in that Kshetra Nyayor Vibhaga Yogam. Actually, Bhagavad Gita Saram, the first verse is picked up by Bhagavan from this Kshetra Nyayor Vibhaga Yogam. So from that particular chapter, there is this great verse which says, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Vibhaktam iva. He looks as though, it looks as though that he has been divided. But he is avibhakta. He is undivided. That undivided vastu looks as though he gets divided, and then he is seen as all these different objects, and we call them by different names and so on. And then we think that they're all real, but they're all unreal because of this division. That one indivisible thing cannot be really seen as divided beings, is what he says. In Viveka Chudamani, Brahmadi Stamba Paryanta Manusha Matraha Upadhayaha Tata Purnam Swamatmanam Pasyet Ekamatmanastitam. This is what Viveka Chudamani says. From starting from Brahma, he is also an object, he is also a creation. Starting from that Chaturmukha Brahma, Stamba Paryantaha, up to the lump of grass, all these things are only one. They're all upadhis, various upadhis, but there is only one vastu there. When you know this, you should consider yourself as only one, and all these things are inside me, not outside me. There's a beautiful incident. We saw that in our previous thing in Devika Lotaram also. I will mention that incident once again. Happened in the life of Adi Shankara. He is staying in Varanasi, Kashi, Kshetram, and every day with his Shishyas, he will go to Ganges, take bath, come back, and all the pujas and other things will be done by him. One day when he was going with his Shishyas, he found an outcast coming in the opposite direction. A small lane. Kashi, Kshetram, all the lanes are very small. Somebody coming with 4 dogs is an outcast. Looking at him, it is very easy to identify that he is not from the, the forward caste. He was an outcast. So he was coming. So Adi Shankara stops there and tells him, please keep your distance and let us pass. We are going this way. Please keep your distance. And then that Chandala is an outcast. The Chandala, he replies to Adi Shankara in the most astounding manner. He says, oh great Brahmin, are you asking this Annamaya Kosham to move away from that other Annamaya Kosham? Is that what you are saying? Because what you are saying, go away, is only my body, Annamaya Kosham. Or are you referring to the Chaitanyam inside? If you are referring to the Chaitanyam, it is ridiculous because Chaitanyam is only one. What are you trying to say? He says, Annamayat Annamayam Atava Chaitanyameva Chaitanyat. What is it that you are trying to say? Vijavara, oh great Brahmin, Vijavara. Duri kartum vanchasi, you ask me to keep my distance. Duri kartum vanchasi. Kim bruhi gacha gacheti, you are asking me to go away. What are you, what exactly is going on in your mind? And then he talks about a great Vedantic truth. He says, Kim Gangambuni bimbite ambaramanau. There's a Ganges flowing nearby. In that Ganges, pure waters of Ganges, Ambaramani is sun. A beautiful word for the sun. Ambaramani, the jewel in the sky. That jewel in the sky is shining on the pure waters of Ganges, and the same sun is also shining on the drainage water of my place, my slum area. Chandalavati, he says. Chandalavati payaha. Kim Gangambuni bimbite ambaramanau Chandalavati payaha. Pura chantaramasti Kanchana Ghati Mridkumbhayorvambare. He says, okay, there's another thing. Our Maharaja of Kashi, in his palace, all the vessels will be made of gold. The space inside that gold, does it become any superior compared to the space inside a mud pot that we use in our slum area? In our houses, we use a dirty mud pot. Is the space inside this mud pot, is it any inferior compared to the space on the Kanchana Ghati, the golden vessel used by the Maharaja? Cannot be. Similarly, he is using two examples. One is that Pratibhimbavadam, the other one is known as, this is known as the Avachedavadam, the limitation of the space. Whatever is said in this particular thing, yeah, the space inside a ghatam or a part, or the space inside this room, which is known as matakasha. Ghatakasha, matakasha. Are they different? I take a glass, I keep it, and there is space inside that glass. If I move that glass, what moves? Does the space move? The space does not move. It is the walls of the glass that move and not the space itself. Space is as it is. It is an artificial division that we have imposed on that particular glass, and then because of the walls of the glass, we have this feeling that the glass is moving. I mean, the space inside the glass is moving. That is not so. So, whether there is a space which is divided by a part or by a room or by a big field or whatever it is, these are all things that we see, and these are all upadhis that are created in our mind because of the walls, because of the obstructions and other things. We imagine this is one space and that is another space. There cannot be any difference in the space at all. Similarly, there cannot be any difference in the reflected images. The reflection may be looking dirty or may be looking very pure and unmoving and so on and so forth, but the one who is actually being reflected, it does not make any difference to him. The sun really remains as it is without any dirt or impurity imposed upon him, wherever it is reflecting. Yesterday I talked about, the last session, I talked about the Bhamati school and the Vivarana school. The Bhamati school, which said that Maya or Avidya is part of the ego. And the other school said, no, there cannot be any other thing than Brahman. So the Maya is part of the Brahman only, but not part of the individual. So there was a division in there. All this came 300, 400 years after Adi Shankara left. So the example used by that Bhamati school, that is known as Avachedavadam, or this, the upadhi being created by dividing the space. They use this example, saying that the ego is containing the limitation, it feels itself to be limited, and so on. So they give this example. But other people say, no, Maya cannot be different from Brahman. It is residing inside the Brahman only. And Brahman is illumining both darkness and also the light, illumining both knowledge as well as ignorance. Only through Brahman we have the knowingness. So even the ignorance is illuminated only by Brahman. That's what they say. They use this example of Bimba Pratibhimbavada. So this Chandala who is talking to Adi Shankara, he was prophesying that 300 years from now, there's going to be two different kind of branches of Advaita, and whatever they are going to use, he is already predicting it. It looks as though that. Immediately, Adi Shankara realized this cannot be an ordinary person. This is Lord Vishwanatha himself. I made the mistake. I was thinking that I am this body. So even at that level, one can lose the sense. So he prostrates before the Chandala. And that is when this Manisha Panchakam comes. Beautiful verses where he says, you may be a Chandala or you may be a Brahmin. Whatever you are my Guru. And then he prostrates to him. Mandara, 5 verses. Beautiful verse. Yetan Manisha, Yesan Manisha Mama, he says. Manisha is, I'm determined. Now I am determined that you are my Guru. And this Drida Buddhi is there in me. This decisive knowledge has come to me now that there cannot be any differences at all. Bhagavan used to say, saying that this dog, and it has got a different consciousness. This is an elephant, it has got a bigger consciousness. I am a human being, I have got a different consciousness. All that is totally unreal. Dog consciousness, ant consciousness, human consciousness, they're all only one consciousness. They are not distributed. It looks as though they are distributed. They are not distributed. No distribution, not anywhere. This is the answer that he gave in English to somebody. Somebody asked him, I believe, Bhagavan, the consciousness is distributed. He says, consciousness is not distributed. There is only one consciousness. It cannot be distributed. And it cannot be different also. It is only same consciousness that is there. The same Chaitanya shines in everything. And this is what we have got to remember. This part of our sadhana should be this, that I am different, you are different. All these differences, the first thing that we should really attempt to really get away from. All these things are within me. That kind of a bhavana, if you are able to develop, you'll be able to make progress in our sadhana. As long as we are going to think, then we are still in that mind identified state of being a separate individual and going towards that Maha Chaitanyam is going to be a very difficult process for us. That's why all these verses are given by Adi Shankara. He says, these upadhis are unreal. And please get over this maya, this ignorance of a divided consciousness. There's only one. Keep that in mind all the time. That's the most difficult thing for us to do. Because all our loka vyavaharam, to be able to function in this world, it happens only when we consider ourselves as separate. Otherwise, is it possible to carry out any transactions? So,
one question. So Krishna advises Arjuna to go kill his family members. There, the God himself tells, do the duty, and then that they have to play the character there. Even though Advaita says like you are the same among everybody.
You are actually referring to two different realities. What Advaita is driving you to is the ultimate reality, which is known as Paramarthika Satyam. That is the absolute reality. The other reality of functioning in this world, that is called a different thing that is known as Vyavaharika Satyam. Vyavaharika Satyam is all that we know. Dvaita says, move away from this Satyam because this is not the only thing. This is not the ultimate thing. Move from this Vyavaharika Satyam, this worldly transactions. You know, the Satyam, that the reality that we see during our wakeful state, we call it as a Vyavaharika Satyam. In the dream state, there is another kind of a reality which we create, we call as a Pratibhasika Satyam. That Pratibhasika Satyam we are able to recognize as unreal when we wake up. But while it is going on, Pratibhasika Satyam itself prevails as a real Satyam. This shining Pratibhasika Satyam during the dream state and during the deep sleep state, there's absolutely no world, nothing at all. And that Satyam is closest because that beingness is closest to the ultimate knowledge of just the simple being with full awareness. Awareness is not there in deep sleep. You add awareness to that particular state. The Jagrat Sushupti state is the Turiya state. So that is the Paramarthika Satyam. Now, Paramarthika Satyam is the goal. So, in your question, the way we have to behave in this world is when others are dancing, you also dance. Others are singing, you also sing. When others are playing, you also play. Play in this world. But in the heart of hearts, you hold the true Satyam that I am not any of these things. I am above all these things. I transcend all these things. And that is the ultimate goal to which you have got to move. So, Adi Shankara bows down to this Chandala saying that whoever gives me this truth, he is my Guru. Your upadhi is to be an outcast. This is what your body is made of. I have taken a different body. But what is inside this is the same thing. And that is what we have got to hold in our mind all the time. So this is the 10th verse. We'll go to the 11th verse, which is the continuation of the same thing. We'll continue to see the same. Nanopadhi vasadeva jati nama ashramadayaha atmani aropitaha toye rasavarnadi bhedavat. Rasavarna adi bhedavat. That's what Shankara's Anma Bodham Shlokam, Bhagavan has translated. Palavam upadhihal patriye namam kulam ஆசிரமம் முதற் கொள்கை. ஜலத்தில் சுவை நிறம் ஆதி போல் சுத்தம் ஆன்மாவில் அவை கற்பிதமாம் அறி. கற்பிதம், they are all imagined. Previous verse also used the word prakalpitaha. They are all imagined. We are imagining many things in this Purna Vastu and we are getting fooled by the whole thing. They are all just our imagination. All these differences are just our imagination. If the differences were to be true, Bhagavan says, one of the questions that he answers and talks, if the differences were to be true, they should be prevailing during a deep sleep also. They are not. In deep sleep, do you really distinguish one from the other? There are no differences at all. So differences cannot be true. So he says here, because of this upadhis, palavam upadhigal patriye namam kulam ashramam mudal kolgai. Nanopadi vasadeva jati. Jati is a species. Human jati, pakshi jati. Like that we say, each one is a species. Difference in the species are only upadhis. They're all these artificial creations. There's nothing true in them. The Chaitanyam inside is the same in everything. Jati, nama. Some people, there is a pata bedam in this verse. This also say varnam. Varnam is, the divisions based upon our activities and other things. We call it Brahmin, Kshatriyas and other things. They're all known as varnam. Jati, varna, ashramadayaha. Ashrama is our stage in life. Somebody who is a brahmachari becomes a grihastha. From the state of a bachelorhood, he gets married, he becomes a grihastha. From there, he goes to vanaprastham and finally sannyasam. He gives up everything. And so these are the 4 stages in life that they have prescribed this thing. Even this, even to consider oneself as a sannyasi, even though he wants to get rid of all these things, if he is going to think that I am a sannyasi, then that is not sannyasam at all. Bhagavan says this. If you are going to think that you are a sannyasi, that you have got to give up all your other responsibilities in this world and then take on the sannyasam and other things, you have just exchanged one set of values to another set of values. That's all. Because still you are attached to something. You are identifying yourself with some Vesham. In Ramana Gita, Bhagavan says beautifully, what is the definition of sannyasam? Sannyasam nirmalam jnanam, he says. That nirmala jnanam, that shuddha jnanam alone is sannyasam. Na kashayam, na cha mundanam, he says. Not wearing this saffron clothes, not shaving one's head, that does not make you a sannyasi. Real sannyasam comes when you have in this heart that oneness. Hold on to that oneness of the Atman. Remaining in that state alone is sannyasam. So here again he says, ashramaadayaha, all these differences in these ashramas, etc. Atmani aropitaha, these are all superimposed on that one single Atman alone. There's no real difference at all, he says. Toye rasavarna bedavat. Toye, in jalam, in water, sometimes we see the water with a different color. All the colas that we see in the different colored colas are there. You add color to that, or you add some taste to it. But these tastes and this color and other things, substances that you add to the water, they are not native to the water. They are not natural to the water. They are all additives. These are all the upadhis on the water that you are adding. But the water as such is colorless, tasteless, odorless, all these things. Chemistry says all that. So that is real water. Like adding these things, we are going to add all these ashramas onto a person's life, or called castes. I don't know, somebody is so and so race and somebody is some other race and so on and so forth. Where do these things come? The ultimate thing is what is inside is the only one that we should not lose sight of. So he says here, Bhagavan says here, Palavam upadihal patriye namam, all these various names and various species and other things, they're all just upadhis and they are unreal. Give them up. Unless these upadhis are given up, unless you stop seeing the differences, You will not be able to reach that Eka Vastu, the Brahma Vastu. In Devika Lotaram, we had a very similar verse. I will just recollect to our memory. Desha Jatyadi Sambandhan Varnashrama Samanvita Bhavanan Etan Parityajya Swabhavam Bhavayet Sada. Ishvara tells Parvati, all these things, various things that you are thinking about, there are all these sambandhas, desha jatyadi sambandhan, varnashrama samanvitan, bhavanan. They are all just bhavanas, your imagination. They are just in your imagination. There is no reality to them. Bhavanan etan parityajya, give them all up. So here the Vyavaharika Satyam, we find it difficult. But if we really want to move from this relative reality to that ultimate reality, these things have to be given up. Bhavana netan parityajya swabhavam bhavayet sada. Hold on to that swabhavam, your own real nature of just pure consciousness, pure existence and pure bliss. Hold on to that Sachidananda Brahman, and all these other things you give up, says Ishvara to Parvati. Viveka Chudamani, Jati Niti Kula Gotras Duragam, Nama Rupa Guna Dosha Varjitam, Desha Kala Vishayadi Vartiyat, Brahma Tattvamasi Bhavayatmani. Give up all these things. Think of yourself as just Brahman alone, that ultimate Eka Vastu. Hold on to that. That is the reality. All other things are all created, artificially created differences, and these differences do not have any kind of a meaning, is what this particular verse says. I will end with this.